Hi, everyone. How many directors would win an Emmy on their first directorial assignment? Well, our guest, James Frawley, did just that when he and the Monkees became a TV sensation way back in 1966. But since then, Jim has gone on to direct literally hundreds of television series and feature films. You will meet James Frawley in a few seconds, but first a word about the Camelot Theaters, which bring you this portion of Conversations with Gloria Greer. In addition to the finest films made from throughout the world, throughout the year, the Camelot is the meeting place for Palm Springs International Film Festival filmmakers and stars during the Palm Springs International Film Festival, which gets underway January the 6th. In addition to the finest art, foreign, and independent films produced, there is always fine food in the Camelot Cafe and delicious cocktails and appetizers in the upstairs Cinnabar. It is Camelot. The number to call for information is 760-325-6565. I'll see you at the Camelot. Well, among James Frawley's hundreds of television directorial credits are Grey's Anatomy, Melrose Place, Law and Order, and Ally McBeal, Private Practice, and so many more. His feature films go from The Muppet Movie to Nancy Drew and a lot more. It really is a pleasure to welcome James Frawley to our program.
Please call me Jim.
I will call you Jim from now on. I didn't know whether to label you under your name, Jim or James.
No, Jim is good.
Both ways.
Jim is good.
But you are Jim, and you moved here.
Yes, I did.
Desert.
A year ago this month, actually.
And so you're finding all the wonderful reasons that we all love it here.
I'm absolutely in love with the desert. I mean, you wake up every day and there's a new sky to look at.
Yeah.
You know, I have a small camera and I probably have 100 photographs of the sky. I just love the mountains and the air, and it's wonderful.
I talked to you yesterday and you mentioned the sunset.
Yes.
And when I did go to Facebook, and when I went to Facebook, someone had posted the sunset.
Oh, really? Yeah, it was amazing yesterday.
Jason Brooks, in fact, who manages the Camelot Theater, he had it on that last night sunset. Okay.
Okay, wait. I was at the Camelot Theater last week.
Right.
For a screening of True Grit. Terrific movie. I recommend it.
Okay, well, we'll go see it. Another movie that, of course, I am just mad for, I hope it does win the Academy Award, is King James' speech.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Unbelievable.
I look forward to it, yeah.
But you have directed so many fine things, but I want to talk about the Monkees first, because it was such a sensation. And for someone who'd never directed for television, to come up, and you helped them, the whole concept.
That's right. Well, I was very lucky. I was an actor first in New York, and I came out to Los Angeles with a show called The Premise, which was an improvisational theater group. And there were two young producers at one of the shows, and they kind of thought I was funny. And so they met me socially, and we hung out a little bit, and they said, you know, we're going to do a television show with 4 young guys who have never worked together. They've never been actors before. They've mostly been musicians. Would you improvise with them? And I said, yeah, sure. And we improvised for a little while, and they said, do you want to direct an episode? And I said, of course. I didn't know what I was getting in for. I directed an episode. It was fun. It was exciting. It was creative. And it won an Emmy.
Well, I mean, how did you feel as someone just starting and suddenly to win this high honor?
Actually, it was probably more than I could handle.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't ready for that fast success. You know, it kind of swept me away. And
did you get carried away with yourself after that?
A little bit. Yeah, no, I did. And I think maybe I made some choices that I probably shouldn't have made. And it took a while for me to find my balance because I was very new in Los Angeles. I was a New Yorker. And here suddenly I was among a very fast and exciting crowd. We had a great time on the show. I did it for 2 years, the Monkees. But it was maybe too much too soon. It took me a while to kind of level out and find myself.
In what way? Can you explain it?
Yeah, you ask very provocative questions.
Sure.
I got sober.
Okay.
You know?
All right.
And that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, but you did so much. I mean, afterwards, I started, I Googled you. I'll tell everybody who watch, Google James Frawley. And I finally got tired of writing down all the shows. You must have just jumped from one to another.
I worked constantly. I really did.
But this was after you got sober, or at
A
first?
little bit of both. A
Yeah.
little bit of both. What's interesting is that I look back on the work that I did before I was sober.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I mean, you know, it doesn't suffer from the problems that I had, luckily enough. In fact,
Yeah.
some of it is probably enhanced by it, shall we say. And
You know, this is an interesting subject. I mean, it's off of what we were going to talk about.
Fine.
But Josh Logan, who today they'd
Of
say was
course.
bipolar, before he took the medicine, that's when he did his greatest. South Pacific, and his greatest
Right.
direction was when he was not under medication.
right.
And he was honest enough to discuss it with me.
Yeah, I didn't certainly mean to bring it up on
I
this
know
show,
you
but it
didn't,
just
and
kind of
forgive
came up
me.
and you asked the question. No,
Right.
no, it's
Yeah.
fine. I'm very open about it.
Yeah.
You know, I really am.
All right, before
And
we-
I have no judgment, by the way, about drugs and alcohol. I mean, I see people struggling with it,
Yeah.
and certainly it's publicized to all the time. And it's sad to me, it really is, but I understand the struggle.
Of course.
I do, sure, and I sympathize.
Now, I'm curious, before we leave the Monkees,
Right.
about the Monkees individually. I didn't really realize they hadn't worked together until you kind of
They
brought them.
were 4 actors who were auditioned out of thousands, brought together, and learned to become a group.
Yeah.
So in one respect, they were produced by Bob Rafelson and Bert Schneider, and brought together with enormous help from writers and musicians. But they played their own instruments. They were very funny. It was a wild time, a great ride. We all had an enormous time with it. You know, we'd go down to the beach with a camera and kind of make it up as we went along, and came up with, I think, some great stuff.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
To jump way ahead from 66 to 79, and we can go beyond that, but that's when you made the Muppet movie.
Yes.
And that must have been the
Well,
working with the Muppets.
curious. Yeah, that was also a wonderful perchance meeting with Jim Henson, who had seen the Monkees and who had heard my reputation and knew that I was improvisational and that I was an experimental director, and got me together with the Muppet performers, and we went out and photographed them in the countryside, and tried out what it was like to be outdoors with them, because they'd only been photographed in television studios before. And that was 2 years of my life that was wonderful. I mean, you know, you've hit on 2 of my best experiences and my, you know, my kind of happiest times. Those
Right.
2 were wonderful experiences. I was very, very lucky to get them.
Yeah, well,
And,
James Henson must have just been an incredible person.
he was great.
So
He
much
was-
talent.
He was amazing. He really was. And we really miss him.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. And you know, I do want to talk about so many other shows that you did, but when you talk about missing someone,
Yeah.
Blake Edwards recently passed
Yeah, he
away,
passed
and I know that
this
you
week.
knew him.
I didn't know him well, to be honest. We lived in the same neighborhood in Los Angeles, and I saw him one day at the market pushing a cart. And, you know, I've been such a fan of his for so long that I went up to him and I said, you know, my name is Jim Frawley, I'm a director, and I just want to tell you how much I love your work. And he said, thank you. We began talking, and he said, what do you do and what have you done? And it got to be kind of a routine. Every couple of weeks we'd run into each other. How are you? How you feeling? What's doing?
Yeah.
And he loved the Monkees. It was great. And I, you know, all his work with Peter Sellers, I mean, he was really an inspiration. He was a great filmmaker.
Was there a director that really inspired you more than any other?
Well, I was very in love with foreign films in the 60s, and directors like Fellini and Godard moved me enormously, and kind of opened up my imagination and made me begin to think of cinema rather than movies. And so I was influenced in that way a little bit. I was lucky enough when I first started making films to be able to make movies that were personal, that had to do with how the director felt about what he was doing personally and how much of that he could get on the screen. I mean, there are moments in the Muppet movie that are very kind of personal to me.
Okay, here I go again. I don't mean to be provocative, but what?
There's a moment with Kermit the Frog. I'm embarrassed to talk about this. This is interesting. When he's alone at night on the desert, under the stars, and he meets his other self, another Kermit, another frog, and they have a dialogue between the two of them in which Kermit has a spiritual epiphany. And that's probably in the movie the most personal moment. And I think it was Thursday night that I was under the stars in the desert, and I had a similar moment. I didn't meet another Jim Frawley, but the desert offers that. I mean, these skies are just wonderful here.
Well, we've had so many creative people live here.
Yes.
I think
well,
it
attracts people like that.
Right.
It really does.
Okay, well, we...
you ask wonderful questions. You should do this professionally.
I'll try it sometime.
Good.
Thank you. You have worked with a tremendous amount of women. Now, Ally McBeal, that was another nominated. You won the one Emmy, but you've been nominated.
Ally McBeal was also nominated, and that was another great experience. You're hitting on all the jewels in my crown. I was, again, very fortunate to meet David Kelly, who created Ally McBeal, and he had seen my previous work, and I had actually done other shows for him. And he gave me this amazing script that was full of fantasy and style, and it allowed me to play and to have fun. And Callista Flockhart was so brilliant. You know, it was marvelous. The whole cast was.
She really is.
Yes.
And then The Private Practice, you did that.
Yes.
Dirty Sexy Money.
It was a television show that deserved to run longer than it did.
And back to movies. Because I used to read the books when I was a little girl. I'd read, if I could, 2 of them a day. If I didn't have school. Nancy Drew.
Oh,
you
yes.
did the movie.
No, I didn't do the movie. I did a television series,
a television series.
Pilot. I did a pilot, yes.
I'm sorry.
A contemporary version.
Yeah, right.
But I read the books in order to research it, and
I'm sure.
They were wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to return to you, but it's time to take a break.
Okay.
And we'll be back.
Great.
Welcome to the magnificent Palm Springs Air Museum, located at the Palm Springs Airport, only minutes from the center of town, just off the 10 freeway at the Gene Autry exit. For group reservations and schedules, please call 760-778-6262. Experience the exciting history of aviation at the Palm Springs Air Museum.
I've been totally deaf in my right ear since I was 8 years old. I'm beginning to lose hearing in my other ear, but I've been working with advanced hearing systems for years, and they made it possible for me to hear as well as people with 2 good ears, and I am so grateful to them. Thank you for the new Anthem hearing aid. Are you wearing one?
No, I'm wearing 2 Anthem hearing aids.
Oh, I love the color.
Yes, thank you.
Call today for a free 7-day trial.
Let us make a difference in your life.
And there is no better restaurant to enjoy your Christmas or New Year's Eve celebration than La Valerie's. It is my favorite restaurant and my holiday choice every year. The ambiance is beautiful, romantic, and unforgettable. The food delicious, with every delicate choice memorable, and the service the best. And these are all the reasons that La Valerie's is the Zagat International Food Survey choice for #1 in the Coachella Valley for food, ambience, and service every year. You will find dining at La Valerie's one of your best memories of our desert. For reservations and information, please call 760-325-5059. Cagney and Lacey, that was one of your shows.
It was indeed. I did a number of those.
And that was quite a transition for some reason in TV, wasn't it?
Well, 2 very strong women running the show. And never off camera. There were never any scenes that didn't have one or the other. And that was Tyne Daly, who was still a very, very good friend of mine, and who's coming to the desert, by the way.
Oh, good.
I have to give her a plug.
All right.
She's coming on the 21st, I think, of January, and she'll be here singing for one night.
Oh, wonderful. Is she doing a big
But she has a wonderful voice.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
she's
I know
been on
she
Broadway.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's doing an evening, a Michael Feinstein evening.
Oh, wonderful.
Right.
Is she going to work with Michael in at the McCallum Theater?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, that's terrific.
Right.
That'll be great.
Yeah, she's going to be terrific.
Absolutely great. But you've worked with an awful lot of women.
Yes, I have.
A lot of your shows.
Well, I work well with women. I think I kind of understand them on an instinctive level, and we communicate very well, and they touch me and move me, and I have.
Yeah.
I have.
Well, which.
Well, Jill Clayburgh, for example, I just worked with her last year on Dirty Sexy Money. You know, we lost her quite recently. She became a very good friend. But Callista, whom we've mentioned, and Sharon Gless, of course, who worked with Tyne Daly. More recently, Sandra Oh, who's a wonderful actress on Grey's Anatomy, and Katherine Heigl. You know, so the list goes on, and I consider myself fortunate to.
Well, Grey's Anatomy was quite a successful show.
Oh,
too.
it still is.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Chandra's a great writer.
All right, now, with this enormous background of television films and feature films that you directed, is there such a thing as a favorite?
That's tough. That would be hard. But as I said earlier, you've hit on some of my favorites.
Yeah.
I had a wonderful experience in Australia. I did a movie about the Three Stooges. And we were down there for about 4 months, and I researched that, and I had a great time on that because they were a very interesting and very funny group of guys. And they worked against the Hollywood system. They were kind of exploited by Hollywood. They made the studio millions of dollars and made very little themselves. So I kind of understood that as an artist who has felt occasionally exploited. You know, I really kind of identified with the Stooges and
When did you
with
feel
their struggle.
exploited?
You
open your mouth and I have
know,
to jump in. I'm a reporter.
Well, I mean, I think I can't say specifically publicly when I felt exploited, but certainly there have been moments when I felt I could have been rewarded more richly, shall we say, you know, and that the work wasn't maybe appreciated as much as it should have been. But those moments go by. I mean, as I look back on the career, it's been joyful. It really has.
Well, you know what's so interesting to me is that you started as an actor.
Yes.
And going way back, and you were at the Actor Studio, Neighborhood Playhouse, the
Yes.
Actor Studio when Monroe was there, and of course,
Right.
I mean, Lee Strasberg turned out all these fabulous people.
He was
Marlon
amazing.
Brando,
He really was. I mean, I
Cloris
consider myself.
Leachman.
Yes. Well,
The
Cloris
character,
Leachman,
but such a good actress.
Cloris Leachman was actually in the Muppet movie. She played Orson Welles' secretary at the studio. So, yeah.
Yeah, but so tell me, what effect did that have on you as a director?
What?
Because you worked with an awfully good director. Going back to your training as an actor.
Oh. I understand the actor. I understand the actor's needs. And I also understand the actor's techniques. And every actor is different. When I teach, and I love to teach, by the way, I talk about how a director needs to go from planet to planet, because every actor is like a different planet and needs to be talked to in a different language and needs to be approached in a different way. And in working with actors, in having been an actor, I understand that technique and those needs and what languages to use to communicate. So I think I've been very good with actors. I had a reputation for working well with problem actors. And I guess because I never felt that actors who were problem actors, like Dennis Hopper, I made a movie with Dennis Hopper called Kid Blue. The problem was not that they were problems, but that they had a desire to do great work, and their own desire frustrated them. And so their struggle to do really wonderful art is what made them difficult for the most part. I mean, certainly there are people who are considered difficult to work with or divas, but I'm very sympathetic to the actor's struggle. And maybe that's why I've gotten such great performances from such wonderful actors.
Yeah, well, that I mean, there are directors who, was it Hitchcock? There are famous directors who did not like actors, and they
True.
did not want to hear what the actor had
Right.
to put in. And so
Yeah,
I
I'm a
would think the
softie
actors
though. I'm a
must
sucker.
appreciate
You know, I
you.
really, I'm really open to the actor, and they sense that kind of immediately. So maybe they've exploited me a little bit, but I've been willing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just, and you did a lot on Broadway too. I mean, you've really jumped from one to another and been successful all the time. You were in some very big shows.
I
You mentioned
I
the
worked a lot
Sondheim.
as an actor. Yeah, I did a Sondheim musical, Anyone Can Whistle, with Angela Lansbury and Lee Remick. It was a great experience. I worked with Laurence Olivier
Oh my.
in Beckett.
You told me that was your first show on Broadway?
Yes.
I mean, you direct and you win an Emmy the first time out.
Right.
You do a show on Broadway and it has Laurence Olivier.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can't write this stuff. I mean, it's amazing, and I'm grateful for it. And
Yeah.
I'm a happy retiree.
Do you think you'll stay retired?
I do, absolutely. I really do.
What made you decide that?
I think my wife and I decided together.
Yeah.
You know, I had done a lot of work that took me away from her and away from the home over a long period of time. The Three Stooges was 4 months in Australia, and it's been wonderful. I mean, we have just spent a full year since the first week of December when we arrived here till this December together, without a break. And we're very much in love, and she's a marvelous woman and a brilliant painter. And it's just great to get to know her again.
That's
it's
wonderful.
like a second
I mean,
honeymoon.
some people that would happen, and that would be the end of the marriage.
Yeah, no. We're very fortunate.
Yeah.
You know, we're very much in love.
Yeah. Okay, well, tell me about Angela Lansbury. I mean, her professional, I would presume that she would have a great professional ethic.
Yes. I mean, there are certain people like Angela or Laurence Olivier who come to work every day committed to doing the best work possible. And that's why they had the careers they had. I mean, it was a deep desire to create art on a daily basis. You know, that's very demanding. That really is, but it's also very rewarding.
It's rewarding, but it's getting to be unusual, I think, unfortunately, with the conglomerates, the large companies that now own the theaters on
Yeah.
Broadway, own the studios.
Yeah.
You don't have the creative force behind it.
It's rare. It really is.
Find that? Is
I
that
do.
part of your decision to retire,
It
maybe?
is. It is, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's not as much fun for me as it used to be. And fun was a great part of my work. I mean, I got up every morning looking forward to getting to the studio or getting on stage. I mean, it filled me with joy. And I must say lately, it's become, as you say, very corporate. And the sense of somebody looking over your shoulder is there, watching the work.
And the money.
And the money. Well, and watching how you're spending the money. And I think an artist works best when he's given liberties, when he's encouraged to be free. And I didn't sense that so much towards the end.
What is the answer? Is there an answer?
I think it's
For
a
the future?
phase. I think it's a phase. I mean, I think history has shown that things turn around eventually. And we go through times that are difficult, and then we come out of them. So I'm very optimistic, but I'm an optimistic guy anyway.
Is your cup, mine is always half full.
Huh? Yes, me too, me too.
Right.
And we discovered, I think, that we're both Libras.
That is correct.
That's terrific.
So we
There
can
you go.
celebrate our birthdays together, and I look
Exactly.
forward to meeting your wife.
Oh, she'd love that.
Yeah,
You and she would get on very well.
Good. I hope so.
Yes.
Well, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed this.
I have too.
Do
You've made
you
it-
have shows that are being repeated, I'm sure, all the time now.
Yes, I do.
And the residuals come in.
Well,
And the
yes.
money keeps rolling in.
It's called mailbox money.
We shouldn't talk about that when we've been so busy on
No.
the artistic.
I
But it
re-
is so true. I mean, I love talking to you. And,
Oh, likewise.
And
Thank you.
the artistic soul which is, you know, the creative arts.
Yes,
And hopefully they'll be put back in the schools,
I hope so.
because
I hope
that's
so.
another problem
Yeah.
today.
I know, and I'm looking forward to finding a position down here where, in the desert, where I can engage with students, with college students hopefully, and pass on some of my stories, because I think I've got some great stories.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You didn't tell them to us?
No,
And you're going to hold them? And,
there's got to be a second act.
oh, okay.
You know. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you to come back for a
I'd love to
second
come
act.
back. You're delightful. Thank you.
you so much. I
Thank you.
really appreciate this.
Likewise.
And I hope that all of you will be back with us next time. And of course, don't forget that you can see us anytime. You and your friends can see this show and any of our other shows anytime, any day or evening on your Time Warner On-Demand station. You scroll to talk, you click it, and then you select to see what show you want to watch, and you click that, and there we are. So do follow us, and you can also follow me on Facebook, on Twitter, and of course I'm wishing all of you a wonderful, wonderful holiday, Christmas, New Year, and let's hope that the New Year brings us peace. It would be so wonderful in our time to see peace and a better economy. I think we'll find it. Let's all pray for that. And please join us next time, right here